most fascinating stories in the book, Helen, centers on tons of explosives found in the basement of your brother Paul's house in Parkhurst, Johannesburg in 1990, and a handcuffed Mac Maharaj. Would you mind sharing this story with us?
My brother was a conscientious objector, and he didn't want to go to jail, so he went to live in England for a while with the determination to come back the minute conscription was lifted. And the minute Nelson Mandela was released, my brother said he's coming back home to South Africa. He was an economist by then, and he asked my dad to put down a deposit on a house for him. And my dad found a little house in, I think it was Parkhurst, yes it was Parkhurst, found a house for him in Parkhurst and put down a deposit, and then let the house out while my brother was tying up all his stuff in England. And he was obviously amongst war resistors in England and other anti-apartheid people he knew very well. And so obviously the word came back to the ANC structures in South Africa that there was a house for rent in Parkhurst. Now at that stage we were already in the transition, and there was already the ability for people in the ANC to come back, and the ANC had been unbanned. But Mac Maharaj had been infiltrated back into South Africa undercover to set up Operation Vula. It was Mac Maharaj and Chris Harney. They were infiltrated back into South Africa to set up Operation Vula. And Mac Maharaj was tipped off about the house, and under heavy disguise went to look at the house and said yes, he would rent it. So that was fine, he rented the house. The reason that he wanted to rent it was it had a huge space under the floor, which was a perfect cellar. And he realized that this could be a wonderful storing place for all the weapons that they needed for Operation Vula. And then the weapons got duly collected and put into my brother's cellar. And he was sitting in England, packing up and doing his things to come home. And one day, I got a frantic call from my parents' domestic helper saying my parents had been arrested. The police had come and taken my parents and left. And this was the days before cell phones, and I didn't know what to do about it. Eventually, my father phoned me back just before, as I was going to go and get on a plane to Johannesburg to find out what had happened. My father phoned me and told me the story, which was literally unbelievable. He said the police had come and taken them away. They hadn't gone away handcuffed. They said they would go voluntarily. They'd been taken to my brother's house, and there they found Mac Maharaj in leg irons and in handcuffs, being taken around. And the police said to my parents, we found enough explosives in the cellar of this house to blow up Johannesburg. And of course they suspected some kind of involvement, and Mac was there. And they said to my parents, do you know who he is? And my parents said, yes, we know it's Mac Maharaj. We don't know him personally, but we know it's him. Anyway, in the end, that led to that trial, if you remember, for which amnesty was eventually granted as the transition became irreversible. But it was a critical moment because I thought it was going to be used as an excuse to cut off the transition to democracy and go back to the conflict that we were facing. So it was a very, very difficult period. And of course, my brother hadn't known anything about his house being used as a massive arms cache under Operation Vula. And so that's how it all happened.
And Mac told you this story many years later.
Well, I knew that the house had been used as an arms cache for Operation Vula because that came out at the time. But when I was writing this book, I thought I'd get Mac's perspective. So I phoned him and I said, Mac, can I come and talk to you about this? And he told me the whole background story. He told me exactly as, I've told it to you now.